If I handed you a standard modern soda right now, you'd obviously know you were consuming sugar.
Right. I mean, that's just a given.
Yeah. But if I told you that the sugar in that can was like literally forged out of thin air, water, and sunlight,
Oh, wow.
you'd probably think I was completely out of my mind.
I mean, it sounds like pure magic, honestly.
It really does. Yet that is the exact biological alchemy happening all around us every single day. So welcome to today's deep dive. We're looking at a fascinating article from the My-Nutri-Diary app titled Carbohydrates, Building Blocks of Life.
And we have a very specific mission for you today with this one.
We do. By the end of this conversation, we're going to completely reframe how you look at the food on your plate.
Absolutely. Because we're going to explore how nature basically traps solar energy into physical matter.
Right. And we'll discover exactly why your body's metabolism reacts to a simple, humble potato entirely differently than it does to that sweetened beverage.
Even though, they both deliver carbohydrates to your system, it really is a profound shift in perspective. When you stop looking at carbs as just abstract calories or dietary macronutrients.
Yeah, just numbers on a label.
Right. And you start seeing them as highly complex, literal energy storage systems. I mean, the entire way you navigate the grocery store changes.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because before we get into the heavy biology of human digestion, or start talking about liver function and modern diets, we have to lay the foundation.
We really do.
Like what a carbohydrate actually is at its absolute core. And the text gives us this beautifully elegant definition.
It does.
Carbohydrates are organic compounds made entirely of three elements: carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen.
That's it.
That is literally it. Just three types of atoms arranged in highly specific configurations.
And these specific arrangements, they basically form the absolute fundamental building blocks of all plant life on Earth.
Which means if we want to truly understand how our bodies process these carbohydrates, we can't start at the human mouse.
No, we have to start way further back at the very beginning of the supply chain.
Right. We need to understand how these molecules are forged in nature.
Because they don't just magically appear in our food supply, Plants actually have to manufacture them from scratch.
And the mechanism they use to manufacture them is photosynthesis.
Ah, yes. High school biology all over again.
Right. But if we try to visualize this, imagine a massive oak tree.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
That tree is taking in raw solar energy from the sun, and it uses that captured energy to combine water pulled up from the soil with carbon dioxide pulled directly out of the air.
It's so wild when you really think about it.
It is. It takes the carbon, the hydrogen, and the oxygen from those two incredibly common resources, essentially snaps them apart at the molecular level, and reassembles them into physical, energy-dense, simple sugars.
It really is like nature's ultimate carbon capture technology.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you are taking a gas from the air, liquid from the ground, and intangible light, and creating solid matter that holds trapped energy.
It's mind-blowing.
It really is. And when plants perform this process, they are primarily creating two different types of these simple sugars.
Right, which are scientifically known as monosaccharides.
Yes, mono meaning one.
Yeah.
And the two major players here are glucose and fructose.
Now, glucose is also known as grape sugar, and the article notes it is the absolute most prevalent carbohydrate in nature.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
It is the gold standard of biological energy. But fructose, on the other hand, is known as fruit sugar.
Right.
But here is where the text points out something that feels a bit, counterintuitive today. Fructose is actually historically scarce in nature.
Yeah, that's a huge point.
You predominantly only find it tucked away in ripe fruits.
And that historical scarcity is one of the most critical pieces of this entire biological puzzle. But for right now, just picture glucose and fructose as the foundational units of energy, like the basic materials.
I actually like to think of them as Lego bricks.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Yeah, so glucose is a standard ubiquitous Lego brick. Maybe that classic 4-peg green block that makes up most of your collection.
You have a million of those.
Exactly. And fructose is a slightly different shape, maybe a unique blue brick. And historically, you just didn't find very many of them in your giant bucket of Legos.
I like that.
But I have to challenge this whole historical scarcity idea for a second.
Okay, go for it.
Because if fructose was historically rare, right, tucked away in fruit, and fruit is universally considered one of the healthiest things you can eat.
Right. We're always told to eat our fruit.
Exactly. So how can this rare little blue brick be at the center of a modern health crisis? If glucose and fructose are both just basic, natural Lego bricks made by plants, why does our human metabolism treat them so dramatically differently down the line?
Well, what's fascinating here is the context of human evolution and really the physical structure of whole foods.
Okay.
So when our ancestors encountered fructose in nature, it was indeed in whole seasonal fruit.
Like a wild berry or something.
Exactly. But in a whole fruit, that fructose is locked inside a massive matrix of water and dietary fiber.
Oh, right, the fiber.
Right. You actually have to digest the cellular walls of the apple or the berry to get to the sugar.
Which takes time.
Yes, it slows the entire process down significantly. Plus, fruit was seasonal. You couldn't get it year-round.
So it's just an occasional thing.
Exactly. So the human body never needed to adapt to metabolize massive daily liquid avalanches of extracted fructose.
Because it just wasn't an issue.
Right. We simply didn't build the internal machinery to handle huge influxes of it because those influxes never existed in our evolutionary environment.
Wow. Okay, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, our biology is perfectly adapted to an environment overflowing with glucose, but where fructose was just a very rare, well-packaged, occasional treat.
We adapt to what we are consistently exposed to.
Exactly.
And nature was consistently exposing us to massive amounts of glucose.
Yeah.
But plants don't just leave these simple sugars lying around as single Lego bricks, right?
No, not at all.
Because to build a tree or a leaf or a potato, they snap them together.
Precisely. Once a plant produces these simple sugars via photosynthesis, it has to use them.
Right.
It either uses them to construct structural elements to physically build itself or to store that trapped solar energy for later use.
So it's either building materials or a battery pack.
Basically, yeah. And for both of those purposes, the plant has to link those simple sugars together into chains.
Okay, so sticking with the Legos, snapping the blocks together.
Right. If you link exactly two simple sugars together, you get what's called a disaccharide.
Meaning two.
Exactly. Maltose is one example. That's just two glucose bricks snapped together.
Okay, but the plants keep building.
Oh, they build huge structures.
Right, because if you link somewhere between 3 and 10 simple sugars together, you get a slightly more complex structure, an oligosaccharide.
Yes.
And if you link massive chains of more than 10 simple sugars together, you create a polysaccharide. Poly meaning many.
And this is where we see a monumental divergence in how these massive polysaccharide chains are utilized in nature.
How so?
Well, let's look at the two main long-chain carbohydrates found in the plant kingdom: cellulose and starch.
Okay.
They are both made of vast numbers of simple sugars linked together, but their biological functions could not be more different.
Right, because cellulose is basically entirely structural.
Exactly. It is the primary component of grasses, leaves, and woods. It is what gives a plant its physical rigidity.
So it's the tough stuff.
Very tough. And because of the highly specific, incredibly tough way, those sugar molecules are chemically bound together to create that rigid structure.
Yeah.
Humans practically can't digest cellulose at all.
Really? At all?
No, it essentially passes right through our system as insoluble fiber.
Okay, so that's why we don't just go out and graze on lawn grass for energy.
Right, exactly. We can't break those specific bonds.
But then you have starch, which isn't structural at all. It is pure, heavily concentrated energy storage for the plant.
Exactly. When a plant wants to hoard the glucose it just manufactured from the sun, it tightly binds it into complex chains of starch.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because while our digestive tracts completely fail at breaking down the structural cellulose, humans have evolved an incredibly sophisticated ability to perfectly break down plant starch.
Yes, we are incredibly good at it.
When you eat starch, your digestive system deploys specific enzymes that systematically go in and snap apart those long, complex chains.
Just unhooking the Lego bricks one by one.
Exactly. Breaking the starch entirely back down into individual glucose molecules. And because of this brilliant evolutionary adaptation, plant starches become arguably the most crucial energy source for human survival.
It really is.
Because every single cell in the human body is designed to run on glucose. The cells in your brain, the fibers in your muscles, the tissue in your heart.
All of it.
Right, they all aggressively demand the glucose we extract from breaking down these plant starches.
It is a phenomenal symbiotic system when you think about it.
It totally is.
The plant spends its life storing the sun's energy in starch, and our digestive system is perfectly engineered to unlock that energy by breaking the starch back into glucose.
It's a perfect match.
And to ground this in reality, the text specifically details the rich starch sources that humans have relied on for millennia.
Oh, like why?
We are talking about the energy stored in plant seeds, roots, and tubers. So the major categories are your cereal
Like
grains.
bread and pasta type stuff.
Yeah, things like rye, wheat, barley, oats, corn, millet, and rice.
Okay.
Then you have your legumes, so peas, lentils, and
All
beans.
right.
And of course, the tuberous plants like potatoes, beets, and kohlrabi.
Basically the absolute staples of traditional diets across the globe.
Exactly.
So plants are essentially the master carb builders of the world, painstakingly knitting together these elaborate starch chains to store solar energy.
They really are the heavy lifters.
But what about the animal kingdom? I mean, we humans and other animals obviously need a way to store energy too. So if plants build complex carbohydrates, do we do the same thing?
We do, but the text is very clear that it happens on a dramatically smaller scale.
Really?
Yeah. Animal foods contain a very minimal amount of carbohydrates compared to the sheer volume found in the plant kingdom.
Oh, okay.
When animals do create carbohydrates, it is mostly in the form of a molecule called glycogen.
Glycogen, okay.
Right. Glycogen is essentially how our body cells locally store glucose. You can think of it as the animal equivalent of starch.
Just a temporary energy battery.
Exactly. But we store it in much, much smaller, tightly controlled quantities, mainly in our liver and our muscle tissue for quick emergency access.
Okay, that makes sense. And the article mentions one other animal-derived carbohydrate, lactose,
Ah, yes.
which is milk sugar, found exclusively in the milk of mammals.
Right.
And structurally, lactose is a disaccharide. So two bricks snap together.
Exactly. Made from one glucose molecule and one galactose molecule.
But again, if you zoom out and look at the whole planet, the amount of glycogen and lactose out there is just a tiny drop in the bucket compared to the massive oceans of plant cellulose and starch.
Oh, absolutely. The global carbohydrate landscape is overwhelmingly dominated by plants.
Which brings us to the most crucial pivot in this entire deep dive.
Let's hear it.
Because when the average person hears the word sugar, they aren't picturing the complex starch matrix of a lentil.
No, definitely not.
And they certainly aren't thinking about the galactose in a glass of milk. They are picturing the granular white powder they stir into their morning coffee.
The classic white stuff.
Right. So how does modern table sugar fit into this biological framework? Is it a single Lego brick or a chain?
Well, this is where we need to put a microscopic lens on modern food.
Okay.
Because if you were to look at a single crystal of standard table sugar under a powerful microscope, you would see a very specific chemical structure.
What does it look like?
Well, table sugar is scientifically known as sucrose. And sucrose is a disaccharide.
Okay, so 2 blocks.
Exactly. It is composed of exactly one glucose molecule chemically bonded to exactly one fructose molecule.
Wait, so it's a perfect 50-50 split. Half grape sugar, half fruit sugar.
Precisely. One standard green Lego brick snapped tightly to one rare blue Lego brick.
Okay, I have to stop right here and push back on something that drives me crazy.
Uh-oh. What is it?
Because if you walk down any aisle in the grocery store today, you will see premium, expensive products bragging on their labels about using like pure cane sugar
Oh, yes.
or organic beet sugar instead of high fructose corn syrup.
I see that everywhere.
Right. The food marketing industry spends billions of dollars trying to convince consumers that pure cane sugar is a natural, healthy alternative, while industrial syrups are like toxic sludge.
Right, the whole natural halo effect.
Exactly. But based on what you are saying, chemically speaking,
Right.
is our body basically just seeing the exact same thing?
You've hit the nail on the head, and it is honestly one of the greatest illusions in modern nutrition.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I am. Chemically speaking, your body's digestive enzymes just see sucrose. Whether the packaging calls it crystal sugar, industrial sugar, beet sugar, cane sugar, or, yes, even high fructose corn syrup.
Wait, high fructose corn syrup is the same.
Basically, yeah. High fructose corn syrup is roughly a 45-5-5-5 split of glucose and fructose.
So it's almost identical to the 50-50 split of regular sugar.
Exactly. It is all ultimately delivering a massive concentrated dose of that glucose and fructose combination. The text is definitive on this. Regardless of the artisanal branding or the rustic brown packaging, table sugar is always that exact same disaccharide.
That is wild.
Yeah, your body has to break that bond, and suddenly you are flooded with fructose.
That's deeply frustrating. I mean, millions of people are paying premium prices for this natural marketing, thinking they're making a healthier choice for their families,
Yep.
completely unaware that their internal biology is processing the exact same chemical payload as the cheap stuff.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the reality of our current food environment goes from just frustrating to genuinely alarming.
How bad is it?
Well, the text cites comprehensive studies showing that the average adult today is consuming 3 to 4 times the recommended amount of sugar.
3 to 4 times.
Yes, we aren't just sprinkling a tiny bit of this 50-50 sucrose blend into our coffee. We are absolutely flooding our biological systems with it from morning until night.
So what does this all mean? Like, if you are eating 3 to 4 times the recommended daily limit of sugar, and half of every single gram of that sugar is fructose,
All right.
what is the actual mechanism there? What does that specifically do to us on a day-to-day physiological level?
Well, this is where we have to return to that fundamental difference in our simple sugars and how our bodies evolved to process them.
Okay, the whole evolutionary bottleneck.
Exactly. Remember earlier we established that glucose is ubiquitous. Every single cell in the human body has the metabolic machinery to use glucose for energy.
Right, the brain, muscles, everything.
But fructose was historically rare, and because of that rarity, we never evolved widespread systemic machinery to handle it.
We just didn't need to.
Right. So here is the critical biological bottleneck. Only human liver cells can metabolize fructose.
Wow, just the liver. I want to make sure I am visualizing this mechanism correctly.
Go for it.
Let's say we use a highway traffic analogy.
Okay, I like highway analogies.
If I eat a bowl of whole oats, which is a complex starch, meaning my body breaks it down entirely into glucose,
Correct.
that glucose enters my bloodstream like cars on a highway where every single exit is open. The brain cells take an exit, the muscle cells take an exit, the heart takes an exit.
Yep.
The traffic flows smoothly because the workload is distributed across the entire body.
Exactly. It's perfectly managed.
But if I drink a massive soda, which is loaded with sucrose, meaning 50% of it is fructose, that fructose hits my bloodstream, but the brain's exit is closed.
Right.
The muscle's exit is closed. It's a highway where every single exit is blocked except for one, the liver.
That is the perfect analogy. You just sent a massive fleet of vehicles down a highway with only one open exit ramp.
That sounds like a disaster.
It is. You are forcing the entire metabolic burden of that fructose onto a single, isolated organ.
And how does the liver handle that?
Well, here is exactly how that mechanism plays out. Because we are not evolutionarily adapted to handle these modern, massive liquid quantities of fructose, the liver gets completely overwhelmed.
It just can't keep up.
No, it simply does not have an immediate energy demand for all that sudden sugar. It can't burn it fast enough.
So what happens to it?
So the liver has absolutely no choice but to repackage that energy. It takes the excess fructose and chemically converts it into triglycerides.
Which are fats.
Yes, fat droplets. And because it has nowhere else to put them immediately, it starts storing those fat droplets directly inside the liver tissue itself.
Wait, you are literally stuffing your liver with fat.
Basically, yes.
That sounds like a catastrophic system failure. Why on earth would the modern food industry inject so much fructose into our daily diet if it causes such a severe biological traffic jam?
Honestly, it comes down to the relentless economics of industrial food production. And one very specific, highly lucrative biological trait of fructose.
Which is?
Its sweetness. Fructose boasts a uniquely powerful, sweet taste profile that is actually twice as sweet as standard glucose.
Twice as sweet.
Yes, double the sweetness.
So from a manufacturing standpoint, if I want to make my processed snack absolutely irresistible to the human palate, fructose gives me double the addictive sweetness for the exact same amount of raw material.
Exactly. You get more bang for your buck. This chemical characteristic makes it the ultimate, highly attractive weapon for the food industry. They realized decades ago that adding fructose makes foods extraordinarily palatable. So since the mid-20th century, fructose has become incredibly important for commercial food producers.
So it's not just in the obvious stuff anymore.
Oh, not at all. They don't just put it in candy and soda. They pump it into nearly all industrially produced foods as a hidden sweetening additive. It is in your sandwich bread, your pasta sauces, your salad dressings, your supposedly healthy morning yogurt.
Oh man, the yogurt gets everyone.
It really does. It is virtually inescapable in the inner aisles of a supermarket.
So to summarize this tragedy,
Yeah.
we have taken a specific molecule that human biology barely knows how to process because it was historically so rare.
Right.
And we have chemically extracted it, weaponized it, and injected it into the foundation of the modern food supply. Entirely because it tastes twice as sweet and drives sales.
That is exactly what happened. And the health consequences of this industrial shift are exactly what you would expect when you continuously overburden a vital organ with an inescapable traffic jam.
The text issues a major warning about this, doesn't it?
It issues a major, unambiguous warning here. This significant widespread rise in fructose consumption is now considered a primary cause of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease.
Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, so
Yeah.
NAFLD.
Yes. When the liver is constantly, daily forced to convert excess fructose into triglycerides, it slowly becomes a physically fatty liver.
Which I imagine messes up its ability to do its actual job.
Exactly. It severely compromises its ability to function and filter toxins. And this isn't some rare, isolated medical condition anymore. The article describes non-alcoholic fatty liver disease as a rapidly growing, massive public health crisis.
It is genuinely staggering to realize that a serious liver disease, which decades ago used to be almost exclusively associated with extreme chronic alcohol abuse.
Right. That used to be the only time you'd see it.
Yeah. And now it is proliferating throughout the general population, affecting people of all ages, simply because of the chemical composition of the hidden sweeteners in our everyday groceries.
It underscores the main thesis of the My-Nutri-Diary article perfectly, honestly.
Also,
Well, carbohydrates truly are the essential building blocks of life. We absolutely fundamentally rely on them as our primary source of vital energy.
right, we aren't saying carbs are bad.
Not at all. But the specific type of carbohydrate you choose to consume and the structural form it takes when it enters your biological system dictates absolutely everything about your long-term health.
To synthesize all of this for you, the listener, your body is an incredibly evolved, beautifully designed machine.
It really is.
It is perfectly engineered to take complex carbohydrates, like the intricate starch chains found in whole grains, legumes, and tubers, and slowly, systematically break them down into glucose.
Just unhooking the Legos.
Exactly. That glucose is the ideal energy source that smoothly feeds every single cell in your body without causing a traffic jam.
Right.
It is a brilliant natural system. But when you bypass that natural system and flood your body with artificially processed, highly concentrated sugars, specifically those packed with fructose, you create a biological crisis.
You really do.
You force your liver to take on a massive, unnatural workload it was never evolutionarily designed for, leading straight to localized fat storage and ultimately fatty liver disease.
Which is completely preventable.
Right. Maintaining a healthy diet in the modern world requires actively stepping away from artificially sweetened, highly processed foods.
It requires reading labels with a really critical eye.
Yes. Ignoring the pure cane sugar marketing tricks and leaning heavily back into whole, nutrient-dense foods. The original complex energy storage systems that nature actually designed for us.
You know, this raises an important question.
Oh, what's that?
One that is deeply embedded in the historical and biological context we explored today, and it's something to seriously consider.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's hear it.
The text clearly points out that our bodies are simply not well adapted to fructose because it was incredibly rare in our natural historical environment.
Right, the seasonal berries.
Exactly. Well, biological evolution is a remarkably slow, painstaking process. I mean, it takes hundreds of thousands of years for our internal metabolic machinery to fundamentally shift and adapt to new fuel sources.
Right, doesn't happen overnight.
So it leaves you wondering, since the modern industrial food environment, with its endless flood of extracted fructose, has only existed for a microscopic blink of an eye in evolutionary terms.
Oh, wow, I see where you're going with this.
Right. Are we essentially forcing prehistoric livers to try and survive in a 21st century supermarket?
That is, wow.
And considering how slowly evolution moves, how long will it take for human biology to actually adapt to this constant, unnatural flood of sugar we are putting into our bodies, if it even can?
That is a fascinating and, frankly, somewhat terrifying thought to sit with next time you are standing in the grocery store aisle, holding a box of food, trying to decode the ingredient list.
Just remember the Legos.
Right. Your brain might read natural on the label, but your liver is just bracing for impact. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the building blocks of life, and we hope this completely changes how you look at the energy you consume. We'll see you next time.